Welcome again to the Rules Plus podcast. As the 2023 season approaches, I've been talking about NCAA rules changes taking effect this year. I've covered what the NCAA refers to as major changes and what it refers to as editorial changes that we often neglect to spend time on. But sometimes editorial changes can be akin to major changes, and so they deserve our attention as well, which I've given them. I've also shared the review by and insights about the changes from TASO clinician Bill Theodore at our AFOA Regional Rules Clinic 2 weeks ago. So it's time now to turn to something closer to our Rules Plus in-season mode of discussing 1. Ongoing topics, including rules application, mechanics, and game management, and 2. Ad hoc topics, inspired by our week-to-week adventures with unusual and interesting plays on the field. For this episode, I've chosen to address one of the ongoing topics that I find the most interesting and eye-opening, the complex web that comprises the organization of the 10 rules in the NCAA canon. I suggest to you that an apt metaphor for the collection of NCAA football rules is a Rube Goldberg machine, a whimsical device designed to find the long way around for every mundane task imaginable. If you don't know, cartoonist Rube Goldberg, born in 1883 in the midst of the rise of industrial America, published 50,000 cartoons in his 72-year career based on the comedic device of finding the hardest, most roundabout way possible for a machine to perform a simple task. If you've seen the opening scene of Back to the Future, with Doc's cuckoo clock's machine opening a can of dog food for his beloved dog Einstein, you've seen a Rube Goldberg machine. If you've officiated even one football game, you've operated a Rube Goldberg machine, which is the point of my metaphor. As I mentioned in passing in last week's episode about the ripple effect of editorial changes on the text of other rules, any single rule typically overlaps or adds essential clarification to one or several rules elsewhere. For officials, when even an utterly routine, numbingly ordinary play situation unfolds, knowing what to do depends on knowledge of not just one statute, but likely knowledge of several interrelated, interdependent statutes. In short, like a Rube Goldberg concoction of independent but consequential actions and reactions, the web of NCAA football rules seems perniciously designed to favor the most torturous, Byzantine way to accomplish the simplest of tasks. For an example of this, consider this straightforward play scenario. On 1st and 10, B35 is flagged for defensive pass interference when he grabs receiver A82's face mask 12 yards downfield. The pass falls incomplete. What is the ruling? Well, this seems simple enough. Most any reasonably experienced crew would handle this easily and efficiently, signaling a first down for Team A after penalizing Team B 15 yards from the previous spot. But there were complications for the crew to consider, of course. How many fouls occurred? Was the face mask grab a separate foul, or was it just pass interference? Should enforcement be from the previous spot, or at or from the spot of the foul? Is there an option here to tack on yardage to the end of the run? In short, some of these questions are appropriate, although one isn't, but these questions all arise because of other relevant rule provisions besides those in Rule 7. If you break down the decisions to be made here, justifying the right enforcement depends on no fewer than 5 rules and at least 19 possible specific rule citations in the background. If you don't believe me, Let me cite them for you. In order, let me rattle them off for you here. Rule 2, 222, 241, 292, 219.4, 225.2, 230.1. That's 6 citations right there. Rule 3, 323, 324, 332, 343, 344. Another 5 citations. Rule 4, 411, 412, 413. Rule 7, 731, 738C, 7312, 739E. And Rule 10, 1013. Concerning those 6 citations in Rule 2, they bespeak the importance of definitions in sorting out a play. In order, those citations provide key definitions of dead balls, 222, catch and possession, 241, forward progress, 292, catchable pass, 219.4, spots, 225.2, and forward pass play, 230.1. All of these concepts that are important to interpreting this play correctly. My point is this: it's rarely good enough to know a specific rule if you don't know the community of neighbors it lives with. If it takes a village to raise a child, it at least takes a neighborhood of rules to know what to do to sort out a play. So join me now for a guided tour of some of the odd places where some of your favorite rules live. Before I begin the tour, I should provide just a little bit of background. I should make sure you're acquainted with the layout of the NCAA rules book. If you're not an official and I asked you to guess how many football rules there are, would you be surprised if I said there are 36 or perhaps 24? How about 15? Well, try 10, at least for Texas high school games. There are 2 additional rules concerning officials' jurisdiction and instant replay, along with several appendices and the new section on so called officiating standards. But 10 rules it is, essentially organized on the basis of administrative silos. That's only 10 neighborhoods, but each with an extensive inventory of subsections where those silos break down and overlap occurs. Let me start with an example of overlap among rules 2, 6, and 7, which are meant to align provisions for an illegal kick and an illegal forward pass. This is a simple example of overlap, which I hinted at in last week's episode when I was talking about an editorial change meant to bring alignment, to use the NCAA's term, between rules concerning, again, an illegal kick and an illegal pass. The 2023 editorial change is in 6310C, with a phrase replacing a simple linking verb, is. The original text read, quote, "A scrimmage kick made when the kicker's entire body is beyond the neutral zone is an illegal kick," end quote. I made fun of the revised language that now says, quote, "when the kicker's entire body and the ball is or has been beyond the neutral zone," end quote. If you listened to last week's episode, I do hope you recall that I ultimately suggested that the critical change is not adding a reference to the ball, but rather changing the tense of the verb from simple present is to present perfect has been. But I digress. The point here this week is that the philosophy, if not the exact language, of 6310C now aligns with the philosophy of 732E, which says, quote, "A forward pass is illegal if it is thrown from in or behind the neutral zone after a ball carrier's entire body and the ball have been beyond the neutral zone," end quote. There, now, in Rule 7, is the echo of the new language about the ball and the tense change in Rule 6. So consider Rules 6 and 7 as neighbors with respect to illegal ways to rid oneself of the ball. But I must report that I think the Rules Committee fumbled the ball on this change, neglecting to also introduce an editorial change to 216.7c, a redundant definition of illegal scrimmage kick. The text there still reads, quote, when the kicker's entire body is beyond the neutral zone, end quote. I think you can say that Rule 2 has joined the neighborhood with 6 and 7. This Rules Committee oversight constitutes compelling evidence of the daunting number of cross references to be identified when you're worried about alignment. I decline here any penalty against the Rules Committee for illegal procedure. I'll bet they catch this omission and issue an errata bulletin soon and add the change next year. All right, let's move on to a more complicated example. This is about a scrimmage kick with a foul by the receiving team during the play. Although kick plays comprise a small portion of the total plays in a game, they seem to present disproportionate potential for head-scratching situations. That's probably because the neighborhood of rules relevant to kick plays is among the largest officials will ever encounter. Consider this scenario. On 4th and 15 at the A20, A8's punt is fielded by B15 at the B40. He returns the ball to the A30, where he was tackled inbounds. Before B15 fielded the ball, B46 forced the wide cover man A82 out of bounds and continued to block A82 out of bounds to the A45. What is the ruling? When does the clock start? Here are 4 answer options if this were a multiple choice question. Option A, Team B ball, 1st and 10 at the A30, clock starts on the snap. Option B, Team B ball, 1st and 10 at the A45, clock starts on the snap. Option C, Team B ball, 1st and 10 at the B40, clock starts on the snap. And option D, Team B ball, 1st and 10 at the B25, clock starts on the snap. If you haven't noticed by now, really the only thing that changes in all 4 of these options is where the 1st and 10 will occur. In each case, it'll be Team B's ball and the clock will start on the snap. The question is whether the play will start from the A30, the A45, the B40, or the B25. Depending on your knowledge of which rules you need to apply and how well you understand the rules that you know, you could make a case for each option. We can do a little forensic rule applying to reconstruct how one's thinking might go. If you were to choose answer option A, I think this is something like how your thinking would have been going. I don't think there's a foul here by B46 because he had to have contacted A82 inbounds in order to force him out of bounds. After that contact, he continued to hold his block like a good player should. It's not like B46 lost contact with A82 and then initiated another block. So the result of the punt return stands, and Team B will next put the ball in play where B15 was tackled. 1st and 10 at the A30. After a change of possession, the clock will start on the snap. What rule or rules will this official need to know to determine if he or she is correct? I suggest these 4. 917C concerning action out of bounds, 6312 concerning a Team A player who goes out of bounds during a scrimmage kick, 22715 concerning when a player is out of bounds, and 332D3 or 332D8 concerning when the clock starts on the snap. If you were to choose answer option B, this might be how your thinking goes. I'm pretty sure there's a foul here when a player continues to block an opponent who is out of bounds. I think the enforcement spot would be the end of the run at the A30. So after the 15-yard penalty, Team B will next put the ball in play at the A45. After a change of possession, the clock will start on the snap. What rule or rules would this official need to know to determine if he or she is correct? Here's the long list. 917C concerning action out of bounds. 6312 concerning a Team A player who goes out of bounds during a scrimmage kick. 22715 concerning when a player is out of bounds. 332D3 or 8 concerning when the clock starts on the snap. 22511 concerning the basic spot for a post scrimmage kick situation. 1023 concerning post scrimmage kick enforcement. 1022D1C concerning the basic spot for running plays that have no neutral zone. If you were to choose answer option C, here's the thinking. I know there's a foul here when a player blocks an opponent who is out of bounds. The spot of the foul is where the blocker crosses the sideline and going out of bounds, which is the A45. The foul occurred during the kick, not during the run, so the post scrimmage kick enforcement procedure must be used. The end of the kick is the enforcement spot as the basic spot. By the 3-and-1 principle, since the foul was by the team considered in possession ahead of the basic spot, the penalty would be enforced from the spot of the foul. So after the 15-yard penalty from the A45, Team B will next put the ball in play at the B40. After a change of possession, the clock will start on the snap. What rule or rules would this official need to know? 917C concerning action out of bounds, 6312 concerning a teammate player who goes out of bounds during a scrimmage kick, 22715 concerning when a player is out of bounds, 332D3 or 8 concerning when the clock starts on the snap, 22511 concerning the basic spot for post scrimmage kick situations, and 1023 enforcement for post scrimmage kick situations. Finally, if you were to choose answer option D, here's the likely reasoning. I know there's a foul here when a player blocks an opponent who's out of bounds. The spot of the foul is where the blocker crosses the sideline and going out of bounds, which is the A45. The foul occurred during the kick, not during the run, so the post scrimmage kick enforcement procedure must be used. By the 3-and-1 principle, since the foul was by the team then considered to be in possession ahead of the basic spot, the penalty would be enforced from the basic spot. So, after the 15-yard penalty from the B40, where the kick ended, Team B will next put the ball in play at the B25. After a change of possession, the clock will start on the snap. What rule or rules should this official know to determine if he or she is correct? You know the litany by now. 917C, 6312, 22715, 332D3 or 8, 22511, and 1023. You've heard the reasoning for each answer option and the citations from the 5 rules in the neighborhood needed to rule correctly on this play. Which answer option do you choose? I'll reveal my selection in a moment. I don't know about you, but I choose door D. The foul occurred during the kick, not during the run, and so the PSK procedure applies. The 3-and-1 principle triggered by using the PSK spot means the spot where the kick ends is the place for enforcement. What I find so useful about an exercise like this is how much we can learn from seeing the reasoning behind an incorrect but seemingly reasonable choice. The source of flawed analysis in the incorrect options here, I believe, comes down to two sources. One, incomplete selection of the full range of rules that apply to the situation, and two, incomplete mastery of the selected rules, even when the selection decision was good. It may be that we need to reimagine our approach to rule study. In addition to our intense study of individual rules in isolation, we should explore the wider landscape. We may know many or most specific rules backwards and forwards, but if we have trouble filling in the larger picture with its connections and relationships among rules, we can be flying with a blind spot. The cliche about missing the forest for the trees comes to mind. Be thinking about who the neighbors are for a rule that you're wrestling with. As you can see now, I think it shows that I'm pretty fascinated by the strange, maybe unexpected places where a rule may live. In coming episodes, I plan to explore a few more rules odd couples. That's especially productive study once we resume our live Rules Plus study group in just a few weeks. Until then, I hope you'll make this podcast a habit, a big part of your preparation for the season fast coming up on us. If you're not an AFOA member, I hope you'll consider joining us, or if you live elsewhere, joining your local Football Officials Association in your area. Email us at recruiting@afoa.ws, visit our website at www.austinfootballofficials.org, or call us at 512-298-2987. Till next time, have a great week.